Hi everyone, it's Michael, and it's time for the September 2019 Orchid Collection update. So today is actually October 5th, which means I am filming this a bit late, and that is because I was gone this month. And when I say gone, I mean gone. I actually left the second week of September and didn't come home until yesterday. So I went to Cleveland, Ohio, then I went straight from there to Winnipeg, Canada, then straight from there to New York City, and then I finally made my way back home yesterday. So once again, thank you to my wonderful and very patient husband for being willing to take care of all of these plants in my absence. I truly don't know what I would do without him. Now, I had hoped to film some content while I was out and about, but unfortunately that did not work out. I actually specifically set aside time to go visit 3 separate orchid nurseries and retailers while I was in New York City. And I wanted to film kind of a spotlight like I've done before, but I'm gonna be really honest, I had a terrible experience at all 3 of those retailers. And I'm not trying to be snobby, but they were rude, they were hostile, they were unkind, the plants did not look good. And it's just, I don't think that's symptomatic of New York. I love New York, and even though New Yorkers have a bit of a reputation for being rough around the edges, I think that they're just busy. They're not rude, they're just busy, but they are kind, they are considerate, they are artistic. There are so many wonderful things that I loved about New York. It boggles my mind that the worst experience I had while I was in that city was at orchid retailers. And I've said this before, but why invest in the art of caring for life by being a plant grower if you are incapable of extending courtesy to human beings in your everyday life? It just makes no sense to me. These places were hostile, they were mean-spirited, and I'm not talking about to me. I'm not that self-involved. I'm talking about how I witnessed them treating their employees, how they treated other customers. And their plants didn't look very good either, and that makes perfect sense to me because I really believe that when plants are grown in a happy, positive environment, they tend to fare in a way that is happy and positive. So it's no surprise to me that the plants didn't look terribly good. So that's a bit of a sidebar. If anyone knows of any remarkable nurseries in New York City that I might have missed, please let me know about them. I would love to explore them and have a different experience. But if you're looking for phenomenal orchids from phenomenal people, there's a lot of other options. Go to one of the places I've spotlighted before. Check out Kawamoto Orchids in Honolulu. Check out Seattle Orchids in Washington. Check out Fantasy Orchids in Colorado. Check out Norman's Orchids in Los Angeles. I just don't have anything nice to say about any of the establishments I visited in New York City, which breaks my heart, but I'm just not going to reward that kind of behavior by spotlighting them and giving them visibility on this forum. The answer is no. Sorry, that sounded aggressive, but that's how I feel. So having said all of that, let's actually talk about what's going on with the plants this month. The plants are all doing really, really well. I have a few things in bloom, I have a few things in spike. I'm doing the exact same thing I was doing last month, so I am continuing to do that beautiful soak of reverse osmosis water for a period of about an hour to allow any kind of build-up mineral content to dissolve and then resolve. So that's going really, really well, and I guess that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and jump in and talk about the plants that have something new, different, and interesting happening this month. All right, my friends, starting with number 3 in the collection, we have my Wilsonara Aloha Sparks. This one was doing really, really poorly, and then I got it repotted. I added a top layer of sphagnum moss, and that really seems to be inviting the roots downward. It is just now starting to circle the container. You can see that lovely vivid green of the new roots just beginning to kind of go everywhere. So that's super promising. If it continues this way, it'll be back on its feet or its roots, I don't know, in no time. So I'm really excited about that. On to number 13. This is my no ID Phragmipedium. This one struggled for a very, very long time, but what I wanted to showcase here is ever since I have been doing these soaks where I allow the mineral content to resolve, it has finally started to put down a root system, and it is venturing into the medium. It has never gone all the way into the leca. The root system has always just stayed very superficial at the sphagnum moss at the top, so I do think it's making it a much more suitable environment. So that's really positive and wonderful. Less positive and wonderful is number 16, and boy oh boy did I call this. I said I wasn't sure it was going to bloom in my last update, and look what aborted. Again, ugh, it's so annoying and upsetting, but these flower spikes just grow and grow. They actually create the buds. They get so close right before they open and then they drop. Now, I have been reading up on it. I do understand that that can be linked to a calcium deficiency, but I feel like the fertilizer solution I have been giving it should be sufficient, so I'm not quite sure why it did it this time around. But then this plant is just confusing in general because now, even though it's about to be October, look, it's putting out a new growth and then another new growth. It just like I don't think this plant knows what's going on, or I don't know what's going on. Okay, let me just accept ownership of that. But this one has just behaved in very, very unpredictable ways. So I'm gonna do a little bit more research on the parent plants and see if those have any specific temperaments or if they need a specific or unique set of input because this just completely befuddles me. It is, now this is, I don't know, 6 flower spikes that have aborted on this one. So I'm changing my input just slightly every single time and hoping for the best, but nothing seems to be fixing it. If you have any ideas, go ahead and let me know because I would love to see this in bloom. Can you tell I'm a little irritated? Moving on to number 18 in the collection, this is my Zygopetalum. Now, I just wanted to showcase, ever since I did this like big chunk of sphagnum moss on top of the leca at the bottom, this has just been doing really, really amazingly. I put it in direct sunlight because, again, I was doing that thing where it's kind of like, well, either die or grow. And it's growing, look at it. So I'm super, super pleased to see this transition. It seems to be having a lot of momentum, and you can even see, I don't know if you can really tell, but if I take you in on the root system, there's a bunch of new roots poking out and into the medium itself. So yeah, you can't really see, but a bunch of new root growth, which it hasn't done much of anything for a very long time. So that's very positive, really great. Now on to number 25. This is my Epidendrum Green Hornet, and look at this beauty. Ugh, I've already done a bloom profile on this, but it's in bloom again. So happy about it. I love the scent on these. So stunning. She is just so pretty. She smells like licorice. The blooms are absolutely captivating. They just look like little jellyfish to me. So I'm so pleased to see her in bloom. She's actually been in bloom for quite some time now. It's almost been, she bloomed right before I left, so over 3 weeks. So I'm hoping that this continues for a while longer. I'm just absolutely enamored with these blooms. So beautiful. Now jumping to number 33, we're gonna move on to, this is my Dendrobium tangerinum. And what I wanted to showcase is this one, again, did nothing for a very long time. Once I started the process of doing that deep soak on the medium, it just started to throw down an insane new root system. So look at that. And that root system is actually finally beginning to venture downward. You can kind of see through, but it's doing really well. And this has struggled for the entirety of the time I've had it. So I'm hoping that this momentum continues. It seems very happy and healthy. And it even has another growth coming in right at the base, right by my finger. So that's all wonderful. Now on to number 36. This is my SVO Fred Clarkiara After Dark Black Pearl. And this one is just doing really well. I just wanted to showcase how large it is. I mean, look at the size of my hand and look at these leaves. It's just a giant. So big. Someone asked what the goop on the bottom of the leaves is. That is sugar, that is sap. It is just happy, healthy, and producing a lot of goodness. So it's just kind of squeezing out that excess. But this one's doing really well. I made the mistake of treating this one for spider mites right before it bloomed, and then the flower spikes aborted last year, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. Fingers crossed, I don't think my heart can take another Catasetum not blooming for me. Now on to number 43. This is my Encyclia tampensis. This is one of the 3 remaining plants from my orchid flask experiment. And what I wanted to showcase with this one is, I had a kind of misguided perception that you can't put seedlings in direct sunlight. I thought that would be really bad for them. And I'm sure it varies case to case. But this one has, it survived, but it never really had accelerated growth. It never started to develop super quickly. So again, this was another instance where I was like, well, grow or die. And I put it directly in the window, and then look what started to happen as soon as I did that. It's just putting down tons and tons of new roots. It's getting really well acclimated, and the leaves are getting bigger. Finally, I feel like it's been the same size for almost like the full 2 years that I've had it. So that's really positive. It did need more sunlight, so I'm really happy about that. Now we're gonna jump to what I believe is number 49 in the collection. This is my Miltoniopsis Burtfield Eileen. What I wanted to showcase is it does have 2 new growths coming in. I've got one there, I've got one there. It seems to be responding really well to those monthly soaks, and I do have it sitting in front of the AC. I have recently seen so many Miltoniopsis that I want. They are so beautiful, they're so interesting, but I will not get one until I have a firm grasp on exactly how to care for the one that I have. So I'm continuing to experiment. I mean, I always have luck with getting it to create new growths, but then those new growths at some point start to rot. So we'll see how this progresses. Now we're gonna move on to number 51. This is my Wedding Day Phalaenopsis. I mean, I never really showcase these when they're in bloom because it's a Phalaenopsis. How many times can you be wowed by a Phalaenopsis in bloom? But I do wanna show you because it is just, I mean, it's so beautiful. Sometimes we forget because there are just like the starter orchid, but look how lovely it is. And I absolutely adore when they grow kind of outward and to the side and have their own unique personalities instead of being spiked. I just think they're really charming. So that is number 51 in the collection. Now we're gonna jump over this way to my Dendrobium Hibiki. That's number 53. Now what I like about my Hibiki is the fact that it's surviving. So I had to divide this from the mother plant. The mother plant had so many keikis that it actually kind of cannibalized it. It stopped doing well, and I waited until the very last moment to pot this one up. But miraculously, it's doing super well. Look at this root system it's put down, and it's only done this in the past maybe 1 or 2 months, but it is getting quite established in the container. It is finally getting some momentum, and now I think this is gonna be its own little mother plant. So very pleased about that. On to number 56, my favorite orchid. You know, I hate to pick favorites, but it just is. Number 56, this is my Miltonia Sunset. And I'm just so thrilled because this one has really become such a consistent bloomer for me. Every single time it puts out a new growth, it puts out a flower spike. And I mean, just look at this root system, you guys. It is very, very acclimated to this container. It is very happy where it is and where it's living. So just look at it. But yeah, it put out this new growth here. And then shortly after, like clockwork, bam, there is the new flower spike. Can you see it? So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing this in bloom again. Those yellows just make my heart so, so happy. So that's the Miltonia. Now on to number 57 in the collection. This is my No ID Vanda. What I wanted to showcase here is I had to cut off the entire root system. The old root system just did not serve it here. It just died off. So I finally cut it back. And it did a lot of nothing for a very, very long time. Slowly started to push out these core new roots right here. There's 4 of them. And now, after all of this time, those roots are starting to branch. All of them are branching and starting to do really well. And as that happens, it's putting out leaf after leaf after leaf. Its growth and development is really starting to increase significantly. So I think that's really positive. Sometimes you just have to be really patient with them as they figure out what they want to do. And this one took its time, but now it really has some great momentum. And last but not least, we're going to move on to number 62. This is my Epilelio Cattleya. It's a volcano trick paradise, if I'm not mistaken. But this one is also in spike now. It's going to be really hard to show you. The sunlight is kind of blasting everything. But if I take you into it, it has a flower sheath coming in right there. Can you see the shadow of it right in the center? I just need to set this down somewhere else. Scooch over. It has a nice little flower spike coming in right in the center here of this the sheath. But it also has one that's poking its head open, and where are you? It's right here. But you can see it's just starting to open and push through. So all really, really positive. I'm super excited to see these things happening. It's been a good month for the orchids. I'm looking forward to having a full uninterrupted month where I'm at home with my plants exclusively. I feel like so much of the success with orchids comes from being able to respond to them in the moment. And again, I do really well with having my husband care for these plants, but he is a mechanical orchid grower at this point. He understands what they need to have intellectually, but I don't think he feels their needs. And that's one of the great things about being present with your plants. It's part of what makes it so therapeutic to be an orchid grower. You really get to respond to their needs in the moment. You got to listen to them, you got to feel them, and make adjustments accordingly. So hopefully I can be home more regularly soon, and I can spend a lot more time with these guys and give them precisely what they need, and then see them flourish. And with that, that's pretty much it. Thank you, as always, for choosing to spend your time with me. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Be sure to support one another in the comment section because I am so seldom available to do so. Don't forget to click subscribe and have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, guys.